I am very happy to have this lecture before you, and it is possible only because of the cooperation between our institutes, Institute of Archaeology and Ethnology and Institute of Archaeology in Kiev, of the Academies of Academies of Sciences in both countries. So I am very thankful for the possibility to continue the archaeological activity in Olbia since the 2016. Few words of introduction. So after this, after in 2015, after our Boiskich invited me to make excavations in Olbia, we just tried to find a proper place for the excavations, and for me it was obvious that the best place it would be in the Roman citadel. So you have here just a minute. Oh, you have here moment. Sorry. Yes. You have here you have here the preliminary borders of this Roman citadel, so called, and now you have see the territory in which we have choose. This is trench R23 actually between the trenches L and L1 and the trench R25 at the moment, at the place that was not excavated. So not yet. So we started on the green field actually, which gave the opportunity also to research also the latest period of the Olbia, which we have done during the next years. So there you have the excuse me. There you have the first moment. Sorry. There you have the first year excavations, the 4 squares, about 100 square meters, and the Polish research area. So thinking for the future, it is between the Ukrainian trench R25 and L and L1, and we hoped both with our for the effect of synergy after these excavations, and it is really done, I think. Anyway, after in the first year in 2016, we have just opened the 4 squares. Next year, another 2, as you see, and in this after a break, 2 seasons break, we continued in the 2021 the excavations. And this year, in this season, we opened 4 squares, as you see at the slide. So this is the very beginning, 2016. As you see, the green field, so yellow or brown field, actually, but we started from the very beginning. And this is what we just obtained in 2018. As you see, this is the complex architectural complex, which was showed yesterday and today a few times. So I will only say that we have here the negatives of the walls, as you see, and the two hearts at the first plan, and the pit, which is very interesting, which has at minimum 2 stages of the exploitation. In 2021, when, as you see, we just opened four more squares, so you can see which area is just opened. There is on the right, in the right part of the photo, you can see the stone debris, and this is the threshing floor, or in Polepa, with another words. Here you can see the fragments, and here is a really big space of this threshing floor found in the years 2017 and 2018. This is again the photo of the stone debris and this complex, and we couldn't remove the stones this year because of the weather, but we hope to continue and to finish this process next year during the excavations in 2022, hopefully. So again, year 2016, very beginning. Year 2017, the level in which we just reached the level of the latest cultural level in the trench. So this is as we just now today we know, this is this Hunnic period, and this is the 2017 again on the left, and on the right 2018 we explored this area and this architectural complex here at the year 2018, and then you have the you see the plan of this complex. We just may define 3 spaces, 3 areas of different issue. The first one, this is habitual, so with this with room 1, let's say, and the pit, the production and the usable level, let's say this way. So the 3 spaces, the 3 areas have a different in purposes. The first one, of course, the habitual, or this is the space or the area in which were the constructions and maybe primarily the stone constructions. At least here you have the threshing floor or polepa, and there you have the production area in which we found also this deposit of the bones. So you can see again the photo with these 3 area, habitual, functional, and for the work activity, production activity. In the year 2021, we just, as I said, opened explored partly 4 new squares. And what is interesting, we just found here, also without the removing of the stone debris, we can say that we have here at least 2 rooms, and we have to do in this area in this new area of the on the right side at the picture, at the plan, to do with this stone, another stone construction, but in probably, hopefully, in the better condition, like as the first one, as they discovered in 2017. On the right, in the red color, you can see the floor, signet floor with the ceramic, which was the floor which were made by with the ceramic, and however, it can already be said that we are dealing with a relatively large residential and production complex, but its final shape can be recreated in the following seasons, we hope. Anyway, we can say that we discovered in this trench 2023, the rests or the remains of the complex, relative large for this period, and the complex in which we have at all two new rooms, again to this additionally to the first one, to the Ilias one discovered, and of course it arose the question of the cultural identification and datation of this of the structures of these architectural structures. After today and yesterday presentations, there is you have seen the more detailed information about the ceramics and different kinds of the artifacts which we found in this trench in this area. So I will only show you again very quickly these artifacts, and coming with a commentary, not archaeological but more historical commentary. So according to the datation, this is the of course, this is the hard work of Sergei Didenko, who identified and walked over this with this material, with this ceramical material. And I am aware, I know that it was sometimes for him a new area, special, not his exact specialization, but I would like to emphasize that he done a really great job, as you can see, of course, at his very good presentation at the morning session. So this is the basic, the base for the datation of the complex, and I will not remind his words, but anyway, this is from the beginning of the 4th century until the beginning of the 5th century. So we can largely date this complex. And you can see also the iron shovel, which was also shown by the Dr. Novichenkova yesterday at yesterday's session, which is very important to identify also and the fibulae. And then you have the late Roman pottery examples made research by Dr. Sergei Didenko, and another examples of the pottery according this datation with the large vessels, as you see an example of the large vessels, and show of zests and types of amphoras dated as we have heard in the Dr. Didenko paper for the 4th and beginning 5th century AD. Anyway, these finds well give us information about the cultural identity as Cherniakiv culture. So with generally, let's say, the gods, the arrival of the gods, and the second one about the datation for the 4th and 5th century. And now you have the threshing floor area, which shows us that we have to do first with a large complex of this polepa or threshing floor area, and that's in my opinion, that shows that it would be a rich settlement and a big settlement anyway in the trench 23 area. And on the right side, you can see the place about, of course, the general place of the bone workshop or the bone animal bones deposit, and the big storage vessels area. Only the one, of course, at the in the upper part of the plan, you can see, as Sergei Didenko shows in his presentation, the another place of these large vessels. But for me, for now, is most important this place in green, because this is between the two rooms. So in the middle of the rooms of the construction, architectural construction. So we may say that we have to do first with rich complex, and second with the complex in which were made a production of the bone tools. We have found, as I said, a huge deposit of bones, over 6,000 animal bones, which was also the subject of the research of Dr. Evgenia Janisz, who gave also very interesting information about this research and the results of her research, including the informations about the climate changes. And but for now, it's important that we have to say that we have to do with the complex in which was also production, the bone tools production in general. So we have this, and this is of course only the part of these vessels of this settlement in Olbia, in the Cherniakiv settlement, 4th beginning 5th century. Precisely, about the datation and arrival of this of the Cherniakiv culture settlers. We are not ready to speak. I am not ready to speak. Of course, after material, as you can say, we have most probably to do it the beginning of the 4th century after the ceramic material, but in more intensive phase. It was rather in the second half, or even in the end of the 4th century, and I have some ideas after the historical sources how to explain this and maybe support this position. Here you say the Cherniakiv culture, large vessels, and another kinds of the artifacts with the lamps, oil lamps made by handmade. About these lamps, Dr. Sheiko gave very interesting and very instructive presentation. Then we have few examples of the bone tools from this deposit. Then the fragment of the glass vessel, which was researched by Olga Puklina, and kindly was shown the fragment of her work by the Sergei Didenko, as well as very interesting in the context of the exchange of the trades and exchange between the contacts between the Wielbark and Cherniachiv cultures. I mean, in the same period, in the same time, the fragment of the Wielbark or Przeworsk culture vessel. But as Dr. Didenko emphasized during our discussion, it is very typical for the Cherniachiv culture and found many times also in the Cherniachiv context culture. And this year, a discovery, bone comb of the earlier type, which was not included to the presentation of Alisa Semyonova, because it is this is one piece comb, not three pieces, not triple comb. So, but this is for me it is very important find from this year, that because we have the final information, the final proof for the Cherniachiv culture connection in this settlement in the late phase of the existing of the Olbia as a settlement. Okay, last look for the debris, which is this is what is waiting to us for the next year. We start with this the final view for the trench. Again, debris, and as you see the rooms. Now it's maybe better to see on the left side this floor with the ceramic floor. This is this area, and I would like to say that our Bojskich found a very similar example of but with stones in the trench R25. But this is only the general mention. It is very pity that she couldn't show us. He's very interesting and very instructive and enlightening presentation today, but it will be included in the publication, of course. And the photograph of this is the pottery, in situ, one of the examples of the pottery in situ. So you can see that we have maybe not explored the stone debris, but in such a position, the ceramics, the fragment of the ceramics, is very useful to also for the datation too. And the pitch, which was maybe a resource pit, but we have still discuss this question. And before we explore to the end this area, and we go deeper to the Roman period, we couldn't say nothing more. For us, the interesting is the fragment of the threshing floor which attracts my attention in the middle. So it shows probably one of the earliest periods, of the functioning of this pit. So this is another general view, and you have see again the position of our trench, R25, L and L1, and this is really a very promising place for many years, I hope, ahead in exploration of this trench. So the archaeological conclusions, as you see, the Olbia was first large and rich settlement in Cherniachiv culture after our finds in R22 and 23, sorry, and most probably after the finds of at the R25, I mean archaeological, architectural finds, functioning from the maybe second quarter, maybe end of the 3rd century, but more safe is to say from the second quarter of the 4th century. But we, of course, the material is earlier, so this is under discussion, until the beginning of the 5th century. And during this period, as you can read, we can distinguish several construction phases in our architectural remains, which we discovered, at least 2, but most probably maybe 3 and maybe more. This is still in progress. The research is still in progress, and something more efficient we can say only after finishing of exploration of this level. So going to the deeper to the late Roman period. I mean for the beginning, the first half of the 3rd century. We can say that after the material that from the end of the 4th century, maybe in the last quarter of the 4th century to around the beginning of the 5th, maybe 430s, Olbia experiences a period of relative prosperity, which was also shown in the presentation of Dr. Dążarski, when he just spoke about the imports from this period. And the end of the settlement in the area we researched. So we are speaking only about the space about the trench 2023. It falls probably at the second quarter of the 5th century, but we still have no fixed date. It could be maybe something help with to explore more the historical literary sources. And the information that in Olbia was still Cherniachiv culture settlement, or the Cherniachiv culture presence was known thanks to research and publications of since 70s or 80s for the specialists, such specialists as we have heard Boris Magomedov, for example, a few minutes ago. He told since many years that it was a Cherniachiv culture settlement. But what is new, what we gave new with our trench, I hope, that is that the Olbia and this settlement, the Cherniachiv settlement, existed longer than the Hunnic invasion. So after fall of the Germanic state, this is still existing, and even as you can read, a small period of relative prosperity experienced. Okay, this is the archaeological questions and conclusions, but it arose, of course, of historical questions. What role did Olbia play during the period of the God domination? So until the fall of the Germanic state, and then during the Hun domination. So let's say to the end of the Attila, or shortly after the death of Attila. And I started the research in the literary sources with hope to find something interesting and reading new from new perspective, knowing that we have Olbia now existing in the Hunnic period. but it is really only the beginning, and this is only the first impressions after this study of the historical studies, the historical sources, and I will present you the few of these ideas which I got. Firstly, we have, as you see, a very interesting situation in with the literary sources about Huns. The first one is Claudius Ptolemaeus in the 2nd century AD. This is the first mention about the Huns in the literary sources, of course. As it was reminded in the earlier presentations, the literary sources is the main literary sources is Ammianus Marcellinus and Jordanes. But according to Ammianus Marcellinus, there is actually not so much problem, because he was the last proper historian, let's say, in the antiquity, in the ancient period, in the manner which constructed to the Herodot and Thucydides in the 5th century BC. So he was really a good historian, or relative good historian. But the Jordanes as a literary source is a disaster. So it is very, very suspicious. Anyway, Jordanes, we know that Jordanes was based on the work of Cassiodorus, which wrote a little bit earlier, and who was a very important politician at the court of the Gothic kingdom, at the Gothic king in Italy. So Cassiodorus wrote his work from the position of the Gothic side, and Jordanes too. So we have this is the answer for the very basic question which we always ask, examining the literary sources. Knew the truth, the author, and could knew the truth. And the second one, wanted the author say the truth. In the case of Jordanes, is negative. I mean, Jordanes' work and Cassiodorus' work primary, and Jordanes' work after him, was the main aim of this work was the good PR for the gods, for the Gothic elites, for the gods which were ruling there in this time in the Italy. We have also the other sources like Zosimus, which is later, and Sozomenos from this time, and Priscus of Panium, which is a very interesting Historia Byzanticae. Jordanes, Cassiodorus, Evagrius, Scholasticus just used this work of Plinius of Panium. And such authors like Agathias Scholasticus and other authors, Christian authors, which are bishops, and wrote the history from the position of the Christian authority, from the bishop's authority and from the Christian sides. And as well, this is also the Themistius, which is very interesting, but especially his Oratio 10 about war and peace, when he describes the terms of the peace with the gods. This is the example of the problems which we have. Priscus of Panion doesn't exist today. So the basic problem with the historical sources from this period stems from the domination of the syllogic culture and the use of rhetorical phrases. The culture of sylloge, the widespread use of the Iliad text, often without mentioning this fact, makes it extremely difficult to critically examine these writings from the historian's point of view, from the modern historian's point of view. In the fact, the last true historian, as I said, was Ammianus Marcellinus, but later writers created the works either on the margins of political or ecclesiastical careers and placed more emphasis on the gaining applause than conveying historical truth. Sometimes they also had considerable technical shortcomings, and in addition, they pursued a historical policy writing for a given thesis. This is also in this period. We have to do also in this period with such authors. The crowning example is Jordanes, as I said, a non-original author writing in bad Latin and with the intention of the whitewashing the gods. When we use these written sources from the 4th until the 6th century AD, we usually deal with fragments, sometimes extensive, preserved later writers. Sometimes fragments are marked as quotes and sometimes not, which, as I said, significantly complicates the study. The Priscus is a very good example. So he wrote his Historia Byzantiacae in the 5th century. Cassiodorus used it. Jordanes used Cassiodorus. Evagrius Horasticus used the Priscus also. And Suda even also cited the fragments of the Priscus of Panion. But most important is the Constantine Porphyrogonetus Excerpta Legationibus, because the Priscus of Panion describes the legacy to the Attila court during the Theodosius II, I think. But what we have, what we may just take from the literary sources according to Olbia. This is the Ammianus Marcellinus fragment in which he describes the Huns as they hate the sedentary life. So what does it mean for Olbia? Does it mean that the Huns not placed for longer, will not lived for longer in the Olbia? So this is the first sign, first signal that in this settlement the Goths or the Chernihiv cultural settlers has to do with the Huns only from time to time. There is the Huns chronology, so from the general chronology, which is maybe which helps us to put the Olbia history to the more general screen. And what is new, what is important? This is the year 375, of course, but the reign of Attila and the reign of Attila and the Battle of the Nidau River in 454, which we knew from the description about the information about this battle we knew from the Jordanes also. It was mentioned in one of the earlier presentations. So this is the Huns road from the east, from China to the west. This is important because in the literature about the Huns, they are also included in the last times the Chinese authors, which are interpreted the history of the Huns from another point of view, not European point of view. What is important from in the literary sources? What I found, as I said, this is only the beginning of the work of the road. So the Goths have good contacts with Roman Empire, according to the first quotation from the Ammianus Marcellinus, who described the situation before the Valens, about the Valens reign, before this disaster at Hadrianopolis. Secondly, the Roman trade embargo was tool against Goths. So they fears, as he said, they fears Valens because the commerce was cut off and then began to feel great want of necessaries. So several embassies with submissive entreaties were for pardon and peace were sent. And the third, what was the subject of this trade? It is it is very the same or very similar to this what we heard in one of the earlier presentations. The luxury goods were most wanted by barbarians, which describes Priscus of Panion giving the information, describing his giving information according to this embassy to the Attila court in the fragment 8. And maybe another one, this is what was the structure of the Huns Empire. So the structure, it was also said in one of the earlier presentations, the structure was such, most probably, that it was the Huns nucleus and the alias on outside of this nucleus. There is the long fragment of from the Priscus of Panion. He describes the meeting with Greek from the former Roman citizen from the border, Danube border, who was working for the Huns, and the discussion was between them in Greek why he chose Huns and not Romans, and in answer you can see this on the red letters, that the Huns were not far less oppressive, in his opinion, than the Romans for the subjugated people. So we have also in the literary sources the information which we may confirm in archaeological interpretation of archaeological finds, that the Huns were not so oppressive like the force, like it seems in the history. And it was very interesting discussion about the constitution of the Romans and the high culture, but at the end, this Constantiolus said this man from the Pannonia said that okay, the constitution is okay, but the people doesn't be, but the people who are at force, the rulers, not use this rules properly. So the pure, generally, idealically saying, in idea, this is very good idea, but the practice was not so good, and the Huns were better than the Romans. This is very interesting, but we have also, according to the organization of the Hun state, a very interesting archaeological sources, especially from Jakuszowice in Poland, Jędrzychowice, and more burials. We have heard the information about the burials in the Hunnic period lately in one of the presentations, but the Jakuszowice is especially interesting because there was found the the golden bowl, the fragments of the golden ceremonial bowl, which was found in the grave with other Hunnic artifacts in the grave of an elite member of the most probably Przeworsk culture settlement, which is near the Jakuszowice. And the interpretation of this bowl is such that the Huns give this bowl, this ceremonial bowl, as a sign of the power in the name on behalf of the Hunnic king or on behalf of the Huns. The member of the local elite was empowered to rule the locals, the local society, the local settlement on behalf of the Hunnic superiors. And there is only hope that we find something like this bowl in Olbia, maybe. And then we have sign of the connection between the role of the Olbia and the settles, the people living in Olbia in this time in the Hunnic state. Anyway, the organization was more like in Middle Ages, or something like in the Mongol tradition with Yarwik, something like that, most probably. And finally, the Battle of the Nido, which is after the death of Attila, which is interpreted in the latest by the scholars not as the after the Jordan, as like this Jordan is that's described as the uprising against the Huns of the German people, of the Gothic people, but as the battle struggle between the two parties in the Hunnic states after the death of Attila, and even the Goths maybe even not took part in this battle, or they took part in the winning party, on the side of the winning party, but there was no decisive. Only after this battle, when the Huns are destroyed each other, it was the possibility, the window of possibility to get the independence from the Hunnic oppression. So structure of the Huns Empire: core of the state, vassal tribes, influence of the Hunnic presence for the Gothic Roman and Roman states. There are only the questions. I have no fixed answers, but I would like to present you also very interesting book of the Hyun Jin Kim. This is a few years ago published. A very fierce discussion that he tried to present the Hunnic presence in Roman borders and in Gothic borders, and generally like the peaceful and very fruitful and very progressive force, let's say, in the history. So it evoked, of course, the discussion. We are asking. Sorry, but I can understand. Anyway, we can ask after this again about the Olbia's role in the structure of the Hunnic state. And in conclusions, I would like just put on the left side the Olbia archaeological events. So what we know after the archaeological research. At the right side, we have the rest of the world historical events, and maybe some coincidences with the historical events would be helping us to interpret what we have to do, our material in the Olbia. Anyway, at the very beginning, I would like say that We have in Olbia to do with the significant settlement of the Chernihiv culture since the end of the 3rd, maybe beginning of the 4th century, maybe second quarter of the 4th century, until a middle of the 5th century, but probably earlier, so the first third to the 20s or 30s of the 5th century. According to the literary sources, the rule of the Huns was better than the Roman rule, and they have probably more independence for the daily life, as we told, and were not so oppressive to the people in Olbia. Olbia could be a trade and manufacture point in the age of the Gothic rule, as well during the Hunnic rule, but as shows the archaeological finds, but we cannot define the role, the power of this point of Olbia in this trade, because as we know also from the Armianus Marcellinus description and this description of the embassy to the Attila's court, there were much more trades between, much more intensive contacts between the both sides of the Danube, and Olbia was on the edge of this territory. So the question, the death of Attila, is the fall of the Hunnic power, and the fall of the Hunnic power marked the desertion of the Gothic settlement in Olbia. This is only the question, and there are no signs of the Greek and Roman tradition in the Gothic settlement in Olbia, neither in the space organization nor in the social organization. I mean inscriptions and the institutions which are common in the Greco-Roman world. So the gods of the Chernihiv culture settlers, which were settled in the Olbia after the withdrawal of the Roman army there, doesn't continue the tradition of the architectural tradition and the cultural tradition of the Olbia, of the organization, space organization in Olbia. Thank you for attention.